What is your role at UCI?
I'm a postdoctoral researcher in experimental pathology and with an emphasis on neuroscience at University of California, Irvine. I recently completed my PhD, which focuses on neuron supporter cells called astrocytes and how they make changes in Down syndrome and Alzheimer's disease. Right now, I'm focused on translating that work into insights that can help us better understand how and why Alzheimer's disease occurs in individuals with Down syndrome at an earlier time point.
What group at UCI are you a part of, and what is the mission or vision of that group?
I work with Dr. Elizabeth Head at UCI. Our lab is internationally known for studying how Alzheimer's disease develops in people with Down syndrome. And because nearly all adults with Down syndrome develop Alzheimer's pathology as they age, the lab's mission is to understand the biology that drives Alzheimer's in these individuals and to identify opportunities for prevention, early detection, and intervention. Now, we focus on human brain tissue, biomarkers, and imaging. So our work stays pretty tightly connected to the biology that actually matters in patients.
What does your research focus on, and are there any discoveries you'd like to share?
My research focuses on astrocytes. These are star-shaped cells that support neurons and how they change in Down syndrome when Alzheimer's disease is developed. And for a long time, Alzheimer's research really focused on neurons almost entirely, but we now know that astrocytes play a huge role in inflammation, in waste clearance, and blood-brain barrier function. One of the major things I found in my own research is that astrocytes show an abnormal organization of a water channel called aquaporin 4. And that protein normally helps the brain clear waste, including beta amyloid, which is a classic hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. And in Down syndrome with Alzheimer's disease, we find that aquaporin 4 becomes mislocalized in astrocytes or redistributed. And this may be linked to them becoming highly reactive to the disease, which may explain why beta amyloid accumulates in individuals with Down syndrome with Alzheimer's disease and why the brain becomes more vulnerable over time.
What got you interested in this research focus?
Well, I've always been fascinated by cells and how they keep the brain healthy and their involvement in neurodegeneration, specifically how they transmit signals and how they react to their environment. And astrocytes are incredibly dynamic cells. They're considered caretakers of the brain. So, as mentioned earlier, they regulate inflammation, blood flow, and waste removal. And when I started seeing how profoundly they change in Down syndrome, it became clear that they might be one of the missing links in why Alzheimer's develops so early in this population. So that realization really shifted how I thought about the disease and what kinds of treatments might actually make a difference.
Is there a researcher who has inspired you?
Elizabeth Head, of course, she's been a huge inspiration to me. She has been instrumental in advancing our understanding of how Alzheimer's disease develops in people with Down syndrome. And she has consistently emphasized the importance of studying human brain biology to better understand these earliest changes. And I'm also inspired by researchers who've pushed the field in looking beyond neurons, specifically those who've focusing on how astrocytes are more than just passive cells. And so these researchers would include Alexei Verkrotsky, Shane Lidlow, Jeffrey Iliff, and Mike Nedergaard. Each of these individuals have contributed significantly to what we know about astrocytes now. And we know now because of them, as I mentioned, that they are more than just passive cells. These researchers have really opened the door to new ideas for therapeutic targets across many neurodevelopmental and neurodegenerative diseases.
Is there any advice you have for new investigators entering the field?
I would say don't be afraid to ask big questions and challenge assumptions. Some of the most important advances come from looking at a problem from a different angle. So whether that's a different cell type, a different biological pathway, or a different model system, these are all important to scientific discovery. And especially in fields of research focused on Down syndrome and Alzheimer's disease, staying connected to the lived experiences of people and families affected by these conditions really helps keep the science focused on what truly matters.
What parts of the mission and vision of CFAR-DS appeal to you or inspire you?
So, what really inspires me about CFAR-DS is its commitment to centering people with Down syndrome and their families in the research process. CFAR-DS brings together scientists, clinicians, and the community to ask more meaningful questions that can lead to better understanding, which then informs better care and better quality of life. And that combination of scientific rigor and deep respect for the community is what makes the mission of CFAR-DS so powerful.